So since there's no one on yet, oh, there's Spirit. Hi, Darla. Hi, guys. We've been talking about how to start the show and to, kind of just rest a little bit before people start to come on, since it takes a little while. But you can see I made it here to Lake Arthur. I am on a kayak. And best of all, I am here with my new BFF, Cecilia
Hey,
Tomko.
hi.
Hi, Cecilia.
Hi.
Introduce yourself to the YouTube
To the future poor
family.
people, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Cecilia Tomko. I live 15 minutes away from this beautiful lake. I didn't always live here though. I was born in Northern Virginia, lived in Savannah, lived in Nashville, lived in Atlanta, and I now think that Butler is one of the most beautiful places in the world. Um, but yeah, I moved here because my husband was raised in this area.
So the cool thing about Cecilia, by the way, is she's a new author. She just published her first book last year. And then, like the people who are really meant to be authors, you publish one book, you gotta publish more. Like you cannot stop. It's almost kind of like, you know what, if I can just grab your handle,
Oh
we
yeah.
would be good. It's kind of hard to do an interview in a kayak. Ooh, but here we are. Okay, so now we're kind of attached. All right. So you guys, Cecilia's first book is about the history of this area.
Yeah.
So give us some fun facts, and especially about Lake Arthur, which
Okay.
is what we're on.
Yeah, this is actually my first children's book. I wrote a novel last year that talked about Lake Arthur a little bit. But the book I wrote is called Mori Vivac, and I made up that word. It's from the Latin vivum and aqua, which is living water. Because I always saw the lake, when you look at it on a map, it looks like this creature to me. So it's on my shirt. I named him Maury because of Moraine State Park. But anyway, everything in
Okay.
blue is lake, and then the green areas we just kind of folded them in to make it look like he had stripes. But right now we're sitting in the top of this horn up here, near his face and near it's called Snake Island. Actually, I made Snake Island into sort of an ear for him. And I have kayaked all of Lake Arthur now. You couldn't do it in one day. Just with this little section here would take about 3 hours. So we launched out of kind of the nose area here. We've just gone up to one of these little canals that I call his horns. So
So you guys, when you look around at this area, wait, gimbal, super hard to film in a kayak, by the way. You guys see me in Florida. That kayak that I use in Florida has pedals, and this one doesn't. So, ooh,
it's a rocky boat.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, hi Robert, hi Graham. Who else is on right now?
Why don't I hold on to you?
Yeah, yeah. You should hold on to my little thing. Hi Tate. Hey kid. Good to see you guys. So we're taking a relaxing tour, a small tour of Lake Arthur. Hi, Roman. Yes, we'll be back dancing again. I don't know about this week because this week we're kind of taking a little nature tour right now, but I do have to work on some of the books, and I have my book signing tomorrow. So there are no crocodiles here, by the way. There are no alligators. And the birds that you hear are migratory for the most part, right? All the birds here are migratory. They come down to Florida. But we've been seeing the geese go overhead and they honk the whole time. Yeah, block party is open. Hi, Billy. And back here, we've got a beautiful little bridge.
Yeah, there's a 7 mile bike trail, and if you just dismount, you can walk across this bridge. But this park also is part of the North Country Trail,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm pretty sure that bridge is part of that trail as well.
Yeah, that bridge over there.
Yeah.
So the North Country Trail, wait a minute. All right, guys. So the North Country Trail is actually goes across the whole country, right?
Yeah.
That is so very cool. Kind of like, it, is it different from the the
Appalachian
Appalachian
Trail? Yeah,
Trail?
that's
It's not
north-south,
part
I
of it
believe.
or anything, is it?
Appalachian is north-south from Florida to Maine, and this one, I really am not an expert, but I know it goes through here, and I think it goes to New York State, and I'm not sure how far west, but it might go all the way to the coast. If you're an adventurer, check it out. You come right through Lake Arthur, Marine State Park, if you take the whole thing.
Yeah, and wasn't like George Washington went through here?
Yeah, so
It's
we're sitting
historic.
on a man-made lake. The the history of the lake, it's
This is a man-made lake?
yes, yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that. That's so cool.
But it was made through glacial formations. So do you want me to just tell you what I know about
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Okay.
please.
Um, so they know that there was a glacier here, and that when the glacier was formed, there were three different streams. There was Muddy Creek and Slippery Rock Creek and something called McConnell's Run. And the iceberg dammed those up and formed this glacier. And then as it melted over time, it became just kind of a flat, muddy valley. And over hundreds of years, there were Native Americans here. At one point, George Washington, on his very first expedition, had to go up to Fort LaBeouf in Erie, and he came right through this valley. He was actually, whole amazing drama, but he was actually shot at, almost died near here.
That's
not in this valley, but near here in Butler.
Yeah.
And then they started discovering coal here. They discovered other things that they could make things out of. And then in, I think it was 1891, they discovered oil in this valley. So there were four little towns. And when I say little, the biggest one had about 80 people that sprang up here. Some of their names were Isle and Neely and Barbers and Maine.
Oh, wow.
So there were people living in the valley. And after the oil dried up, it was just a mess, you know, a lot of pollution, a lot of just mines. And so around 1942, in the 1920s, a man named Preston moved here from England and started doing glass research. And he started looking around and discovered what's called a moraine. And if you don't know what that word means, I didn't either.
I don't.
It's Moraine State Park, but a moraine is like the rim that's left behind after a glacier moves through. It's like the rock and debris that's left behind. So he began to kind of look at where the moraine was and figured out, there's a glacier here once. I wonder if we can make a lake here. And it became his project. You know, he formed a friendship with a guy named Edmund Arthur. And unfortunately, that man, Mr. Arthur, died very suddenly in 1946, and Preston was determined to get this lake in his honor. And it actually didn't get fully dammed and functional until 1970. So from 46, when Edmund Arthur died, until 1970, it was creating a conservancy called the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy, getting the money, getting the few people remaining here to agree to move out, tearing down all the barns, clearing out the debris and trees, and making it safe, and then building this expensive dam. And one other piece that I thought was fascinating, they had recently built a highway called 422, and it went through what is now the lake. So they had to convince the state to move the road. But actually it went okay, because right there where the road went through, it was very foggy because of the valley, and there were a lot of accidents because of the fog. So they agreed to move it, and there's still a road underneath here. There's parts of it you can walk the road near the shoreline. Yeah, so
That is so cool. So you guys, how does Cecilia know all of this? Well, she wrote a book about it. Tell them a little bit about that book and where they can get it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this book came out, I guess it got on Amazon about 2 weeks ago now. So it's brand new. I got my first copies of it just the other day.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, you can find it on Amazon. It's called Morrie, Morrie. Or you can look through my name, which is Cecilia Tomko, Tomko. And I did it self-published, but I'm hoping that people, especially those who've enjoyed this lake, will enjoy the story. It's written where it's readable for kids between the ages of maybe 6 and 12 and up, but I think even adults would enjoy it. We turned Morrie into this cute little character who's telling the story of the lake. And I have a few other sequel books in mind where Morrie goes on different adventures with other animal-shaped lakes. There's one I've written, but we haven't illustrated it yet, about a nearby lake called Little Bear Run. And so that'll be my first Morrie sequel book coming up eventually.
I love it. You know, that's the other thing that I've been talking to you guys about, writing your own books, and how anything can inspire you to write a book. It could be about your life, but then again, it could be about the life of the people who actually helped to build the town that you're in. I mean, there's so much history around here, and I didn't know anything about Moraine State Park or how it was created or really anything about it. and it's so fascinating. And once you start diving into history, you want to share the stories, right? I mean, that's what you, is that when you started learning about it, is that when you decided we have to share these stories, everyone should know?
Yeah, so my story is I didn't really want to move to Butler. I lived in some really quaint, beautiful towns. I lived in Charlottesville, Virginia. I lived in Franklin, Tennessee. I lived in Savannah, Georgia. You know, beautiful Main Street towns.
Butler's not that pretty.
And Butler Main Street leaves a lot to be
A
desired.
lot.
But I have a unique thing that I think the Lord put on me, which is and I never knew why. Like, I care about old buildings. When they're abandoned, I have this hurt in my heart. Like, I want to see life come back. And in Butler, there is a building that was very monumental to the Industrial Revolution. It has been empty since 1982. And they used to build steel railroad cars. It's called the Pullman Building now.
Right.
And it's also right next to where they first invented the Jeep, the
Amazing.
Phantom Reconnaissance car.
That's right.
So after I'd been in Butler since 2010, I was like, somebody needs to write a book about Butler, because I would love to see that book turn into a movie that would draw people here and revolutionize this town. And after 20 some years of saying that, you know, since I first met my husband until we moved here and we're living here a while, finally I got an idea to write the book. So the novel is called Sacred Stones, a Butler Book. And you can find that on my name on Amazon as well. Would you like me to tell you a little bit about that whole journey?
Actually, yes, but before you do, I did want to say that I have a copy of this book, and I will be reading you some of the chapters from the book so that you can hear what it's all about. And I know you guys love it when I read to you. And I think history books, I've been doing kind of, Cecilia doesn't know this, but I've been doing a series of history tours since I've been in Pennsylvania. We've been in Philadelphia, we've been in Gettysburg, we were in Harper's Ferry, West Virginia.
I love that.
I know it's so great over there. We might go back. And then, of course, we went to Mars. You know, that was the best. It was like we were all over history, but then we went to Mars. But Mars is also full of history, so we had a lot of time to talk about, you know, because it was incorporated, I think, in 1890. And one of the cool things that I love about this area especially is that before the Civil War, you know, this was kind of the seat where everything was happening with the Union. And the soldiers came from these areas. There were a lot of families and they had farms. And that's another show that we're going to do. You guys remember the cool little showed you the other day? It's built by a revolutionary family. Actually, it was built by the dad had come home from the war in World War II, and I think he came home in 43, and he started this miniature railroad. That is mind blowing. I don't know if you saw it on my show, but it is so cool. So we're gonna go back to their house because they have a railroad in their house that was like one of the first railroad stations here in Western Pennsylvania. Hi, Derek. So we've got a lot of cool stuff going on, a lot of history to teach you before I leave this area on Saturday. And oh boy, there are just the sorry moderators. I'm sorry moderators that you have to deal with these horrible comments and these disgusting people. And I'm sorry I even have to talk about it, but I do need to say, you come on the beach report, please be respectful. We are not here looking to stir up hate or trouble or anything. I'm trying to teach you about history, so I hope that you'll respect that about this channel. And when you come on, you can leave comments, but you don't get to just say whatever you want. You know, you do have to have respect for me, my guests, and everybody watching. Sorry that I have to say that, but sometimes I do. Anyway, let's learn a little bit about this area. Sorry, Cecilia. You know, it's embarrassing for me when you guys do this, so you need to stop. All right, anyway.
Couple walkers over there.
Oh, we've got walkers. Oh, wait, let's the people.
They might be fishing.
Say
I don't
hi
know.
to the
I
people.
think they're hiking.
Hikers going over that beautiful bridge. Yeah, look how beautiful this area is. Yeah, don't give them second chances, Spirit. They obviously don't deserve it. Okay, anyway.
Yeah, well, I think like Frank Preston's story is really inspiring. He made a huge difference in this community by creating this lake. And it just took one person and then a partner and adding more to that vision and creating this beautiful place that hundreds of thousands of people enjoy. In fact, I think one of the main industries in Butler is this lake. It brings in people all seasons. People can ice fish here. They can uh, there's horseback riding trails, there's bike trails, hiking trails, there's disc golf here. So all the time there's things happening here. And in the winter, people can go cross country skiing here. So thank you to Frank Preston. I just look forward to meeting him in heaven and saying thanks for what you did for this area. But I also feel like moving to Butler made me feel like it was a small enough place that maybe I could make a difference too. And just backing up, when I lived in Savannah, there was a street called Broughton Street. It was just a block or two off of Riverside, if you've ever been there, River Street. And it was all boarded up in 1995. It was all boarded up because of the malls. The whole shopping district down there was boarded up. And then there was a book that came out, and it got turned into a movie. And over the period of time of between 1997, when it became a movie, and now, it's like a posh, beautiful, every store's open. There's people walking there all the time. It's called Broughton Street. So it made me realize what a book could do. And that's why I started saying someone should write a book about Butler. Now, we're not on the ocean, we're not a Savannah town, but we do have this amazing history.
Right.
In fact, there was a period where Butler was bigger than Pittsburgh, and where people from Pittsburgh would come here to vacation and for nightlife. There was several, we would say now they were theaters or movie theaters, but at the time they called them opera houses. I think there was 4 at one time. Louis Armstrong came here. Like there was action in Butler, and to look at it now, people that live here, some of them don't know that.
Yeah.
So I wrote the first book partly to make people in Butler proud of their heritage and realizing what we were, partly to realize what it took to become that then, which was industrial, inspiring people. And we have several here now that have a vision for this town. And partly for people on the outside to say, we want to check this out. We don't want to just blow by on Highway 79. We want to come see what Butler's all about. So the first book is actually fiction. And the reason is that I don't really like to pick up a history book. I don't know, do you like read a cover history book?
No, no one wants to do that. It's
Some
kind of
people-
boring.
But I love it when I've read a work of fiction that has a true location with
Yes,
history, and then
always.
when I go to that place, you're like, I feel like I know this place because I saw it in my mind when I read the book. The first time that happened to me was a book by Michael Malone called Handling Sin, and there's a scene set in Stone Mountain, Georgia, which later was where I met my husband. But I read the book at UVA, and then 10 years later, I'm down in Stone Mountain. I'm like, I know all about this mountain because it internalized from reading that book. So I am hoping that people will read my book, even outside of Butler, and come here and be like, I know about Frank Preston, I know about glass research, I know about Pullman, and the other things that have taken place here with George Washington, and be excited to experience it themselves.
So I don't think that I could have said that better myself. When I talked to you guys about writing your own stories and how you can change the world and you can leave a legacy, and that's also why I've been publishing, why I'm just now starting to publish for other people, because I do want to help you do that. And Cecilia is so right. I didn't even think about how a book can actually change a whole town just by the history of it getting out and turn it into a movie. That is brilliant, and makes me start to think about all sorts of books that I want to write now. Oh my gosh, thank you for the inspiration.
Well, the book was in editing form, the first book, Sacred Stones, and I'd been telling people for 6 months, I'm writing a book to bring positive attention to Butler. And then guess what happened to Butler, Pennsylvania?
Right?
Is it okay if I talk about that?
Yes, please talk about it.
So on July 13th, as all of you I'm sure know, it
2024.
was right here, literally 11 miles from where we sit right now, that President Trump was giving a rally, and a bullet went right by his ear, and
Right through his ear.
right through his ear. And someone died who I've now met, the widow of that man, Corey Competor. But I remember even in the moment at that day saying, this is not what I wanted the world to think of Butler. This is not what I wanted. Now people, maybe over stereotype it as we're a totally Republican town. Butler, we have, people get along. Like, they care about people and families much more than they do about your political affiliation. It's a wonderful town to be in. I've never met a hater in Butler, ever. I have friends on both sides politically. I'm actually involved in the school board here. We have, but we don't get into that. We have neighbors and we have relationships and family, overarching. So first of all, if that stereotype is in your mind, come to Butler and see for yourself. But secondly, it made me want to write more. I didn't think I would, but a few months later in December, I ended up writing a sequel to my first book. And the first book has to do with the generations. So it's a family that inherits a house fictionally in Butler, but it's very much like my family. And they start, the 10-year-old daughter starts to see visions of the ancestor that built the house, who was a really bad guy, really, really bad guy. And there's a biblical quote, and it's actually 3 times in the Bible, but in the 10 Commandments it says that I will, for those who hate me, I will curse them to the 3rd and 4th generation. And it's in the 2nd commandment. But for those who love me, I will bless them to 1,000 generations. For those who love me and keep my commandments. And so the book isn't overtly just about that, but that scripture kind of inspired this idea of this really bad guy and the things he did, and how that trickle effect went down, and how the redemption happens in this 4th and 5th generation. So it was really interesting. It kind of helped that overarching theme sort of helped write the story. And in the 2nd book, I took Caroline's younger brother, who was in my mind 10 at the Trump shooting. And so that timeline takes place in 2025. And if you didn't realize that, a lot of other things that happened in 2025 were connected to Butler. But it flashes back to the 40s, where the son of the really bad guy gets involved as a volunteer during the Jeep invention. And so there's those 2 timelines in the 2nd book that's coming out, hopefully, I'm hoping this fall. My editor sadly keep up with the editing, but that's all in God's hands. Yeah, we pray for Daniel and his little baby. But at the same time, when you believe that there's a God, you can say, well, his timing must be perfect, and I'm going to just wait. But that's the theme of that book, has a little more to do with when I started thinking about generational curses, which is a whole big topic. I really thought, why? And my conclusion, this is not biblical, it's extra biblical, is that those 3rd and 4th generations do not have the prayer power of the parents to teach them and pray over them. And I believe prayer is super powerful.
Super powerful.
That it's like a
we got
protective
prayer
wall.
warriors on the beach report. Yes.
Yeah, and so sadly, if it's a generation that chooses to hate God, hate his word, and not pray, then their kids and their grandkids aren't getting that protection.
Wow.
Spiritually. So that's kind of the theme of the 2nd book that goes under the narrative. But that book is going to be called Silent Defenders.
Love it.
And it does deal with the Trump rally from a first-person account from my fictional characters.
Were you there?
I was there, yeah. I was about, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 yards away. And it was life-changing in that, it's funny, I wouldn't call it traumatic for me personally, because I think trauma is when something happens that changes your whole worldview. For me, it was eye-opening that my town could be affected to this close level, and just to see, just to see the spiritual battle that's really going on in person. It was also life-changing to understand really what fake news was, because I was there, the journalists were there, and I saw what they were reporting those first 24 hours, and it was like, okay, we all were eyewitnesses to the same thing, but people can spin it however they. So it did make me look and be much more attentive to what's happening in the world. So on the other positive things that happened that year, you might not remember, but Mark Fogel, who was one of the people that was in Russia imprisoned for several years, and Trump had promised him, if I will get you out, he promised his mother, I will get him out.
Yeah.
And he was from Butler. So he came back home to Butler. I haven't met him personally, but it was a big, exciting thing. There used to be signs all over town that said, "Free Mark Fogel."
Wow.
And I think it was just 3 or 4 weeks after Trump got in office that he came home, he got out. So that was a big thing. This past year also, there was a time capsule unearthed that had a lot of stuff about President Wilson. It was buried in 1917, right at the beginning.
Here in Butler?
Yeah, of the First World War.
Wow.
So it caused me to take what happened to Trump and to think about what happened to George Washington, who was, he was just a 21-year-old, but how the course of history would have been changed if he had been assassinated here. And then to really dive deep into all of the presidential assassinations and attempted assassinations. And some of them intersected in a way with Butler, like JFK spoke in Butler just a few months before he was elected. And yeah, so it was fun to go down that rabbit trail and learn, I guess, really about the depravity of people that would think that you should just kill someone you can't silence.
Yeah.
And many of them actually were really insane people, those assassins. Yeah. So hopefully the book will, it's not a downer book though, it has a lot of really positive, neat energy in it too. So.
Okay, well, as you can tell, Cecilia herself has a lot of positive, neat energy to her as well. So I am going to definitely, I want to read the book to you guys so you can hear some of it. I won't give it all away, Cecilia, don't worry. But they do love it when I read to them. So we'll be doing that. And maybe I'll get a few copies that I can pass on to you guys as well. Cecilia is such a positive influence, and I love what she's doing because the minute I met her, like we just hit it off just like that. Because she, like me, has a passion and a drive to save the world in whatever little way that she can. And I feel the same way. There's always something that you can do to make the world a better place, if not just for one person. Like I say, you guys go to a nursing home, or just like when you see someone who looks like they're having a bad time, just go over and give them some words of encouragement. It costs nothing to be kind. And these days I'm seeing things come out of people's mouths. It's like you have to realize it. There is karma, and God is your judge, and God is watching you. So don't you want to do things to make him proud instead of doing things to, ruin your chances of going to heaven? I mean, it seems like there's a lot at stake, at least for somebody like me. I don't know about somebody like you, but um, I think that we can all make the world a better place, every one of us. It doesn't take a lot of work to do. But as far as writing books, I think it is a great first step to share your passion with everyone. We do all need to understand the world that we live in. And what better way to have people understand where you're coming from if you write a book? All right, you guys. Well, we'll be talking more with Cecilia. I want to say goodbye for now because it's starting to get kind of overcast here. I show you this beautiful, beautiful area that we have kayaked to, and the amazing Cecilia Tomko. Cecilia, you are amazing, and I thank you so much for taking me on this kayak journey and also learning more about you and your book and what drives somebody to write about the area that they live in. So I think you're super inspirational, and you make me want to do things that I haven't even thought of before, but now I'm thinking of them. So
Well, thank you. It's fun being with you, Jill. Should we go and go out to the wider waters and enjoy the lake a little
yes,
bit now?
let's do it. Let's do it, Cecilia. And I gotta say, I cannot film and kayak at the same time because it takes two hands. So I will see you guys on the next beach report, and we'll be definitely talking more about Cecilia with Cecilia, and learning more about this area, the beautiful Butler, Pennsylvania. And Cecilia, this is Butler isn't my hometown, but I grew up right outside of Butler, and as a Pittsburgh Post Gazette reporter, Butler was part of my beat. So I do know a lot about this area, and I love this area. And Cecilia's right, the little city slash town of Butler leaves a lot to be desired, but it is so very important to the history of this country. So I wonder if maybe Cecilia can make a change just with her book. We're going to find out. We can try to make it happen. Share the book with everybody. All right, and you can get it on Amazon now, so check it out. Cecilia Tomko. All right, you guys, we'll see you on the next beach report. I got a kayak. I'm on a boat. Ciao for now.